The cannabis cartel is running scared right now, and you can see it in the latest propaganda in the Detroit Metro Times. I'm Adam D'Angeli on behalf of the Michigan Caregivers Association. I wanted to give you guys a brief update on what's been going on with the cannabis cartel law. If you're not familiar, what's happening is a small group of very well-funded corporations want to invade the industry and drive the caregivers out of business in Michigan. And what they're proposing is an expansive licensing and regulatory regime, making it almost impossible for anyone to do business unless they have huge market capitalization. And that's what this is really all about, is cartelizing an industry. They know it, lawmakers know it, and they all thought they're going to get away with it until just this past week. The legislation stalled in the House committee. It's the House Committee on Regulatory Reform. The bill was assigned there. They thought it was smooth sailing. But when the committee had their last hearing 2 days ago, when it was supposed to be voted out, they didn't have the votes because they didn't take it up, which means they know the inertia has shifted in a big way from smooth sailing for the cartel to real opposition coming from all kinds of different places. And that's the work of you guys. This is a huge, huge, huge victory for us that we have effectively stopped the inertia on a moving train going through Lansing. And now is the time to double down, because right now the cannabis cartel is desperately doing anything they can to save this operation. So they are now outputting propaganda in outlets like the Metro Times, and we're going to look at that in just a moment. But the essence of it is they're going to do anything they can to get this bill over the finish line. And that's why we have to double down. We have to tell people what's going on, tell people to contact their lawmakers, and let them know to oppose the cannabis cartel legislation. And don't, trust me, they'll know exactly what that is. If you want, the bill number is 5301. But again, lawmakers know exactly what this bill is all about. And that's why it's so important that we mobilize the public to call your lawmakers in Lansing. Find your lawmaker, just go to legislature.mi.gov. You can look them up. They've got tools for that. And contact your state House representative and demand that they give you their word that they will oppose the cannabis cartel bill 5301. So let's have a look at what they're up to. This just came out in the Metro Times just a couple of days ago. And this is a very, very bizarre headline and a very bizarre story from Steve Neveling. And, well, let's just take a look at it. The headline says, the group behind caregiver crackdown, that's their term for the cartel, urges cannabis businesses to offer free or low-cost products to seriously ill patients. What in the world does that even mean? Let's read the article for ourselves and see what we can make of it here. The Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association, that's the pod cartel, is encouraging its members to provide free or low-cost cannabis products to patients with severe or terminal illness. What does it mean they're encouraging their members to do this? Well, it really means nothing. It means they put out a news release, and the Detroit Metro Times just prints it as if that's a story uncritically. So that's the Metro Times for you. At least they had the sense to name them, the group behind the caregiver crackdown, and at least in the headline call attention to what this is really all about. But here's what they say. The MCMA's board of directors unanimously passed a resolution last week that asks its member companies to create a program to ensure seriously ill patients have access to low or no-cost cannabis products that are tested, labeled, tracked, and licensed. Now, any of their member companies have absolutely no obligation to do anything on this. This is pure PR, nothing more, nothing less. It says MCMA represents cannabis businesses across the state. Well, not all of them, it doesn't. Only the giant ones. And here's what they say. Just like any other form of medicine, patients with cancer and other severe or terminal illnesses deserve to know that their cannabis has met the highest standards for testing, tracking, licensing, and safety. And our members' products do just that. And that's really what their propaganda is that the way we're going to drive everybody out of business is by establishing an expansive testing, tracking, licensing, and quote-unquote safety regime, as if anybody on the planet's actually concerned about that. And so they say, Michigan's patients rely on cannabis as medicine and deserve to know where their cannabis comes from and what's in it. Again, same talking point. So here's what they say. This is the resolution that they passed. The board of directors of the Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association hereby resolves the membership of the MCMA is committed to making sure patients and children with chronic illnesses have access to safe, tested, and cost-effective products, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, be it resolved, the board of Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association encourages each member to develop their own program to offer low-cost or free medical cannabis and medical products, to develop the criteria to do so, and advertise the program independently to the public. The board of the MCMA is taking the best practice from the regulated pharmaceutical industry to assist Americans in obtaining the medicine they need to offer these life-saving drugs at an affordable cost to the most vulnerable citizens. And that's because for everybody else in Michigan, the cost will skyrocket when they utterly decimate the market for caregivers. Suddenly, I mean, what makes medicine affordable is competition and freedom and choice, which is why medicine is not affordable for pharmaceuticals, because there is not a lot of freedom and choice, not a lot of competition, a whole lot of regulation. This is what they want to do for this industry. They want to drive up the costs, drive out the competition, and hey, the cost will pass on to the consumers. That's more profit for them. It's all a great racket if you can get it. So they say, we're proud to emulate this compassionate program to provide medical cannabis products. This is all nothing but PR. There is absolutely no obligation that anybody has to act on this. It's just putting out a news release saying how great and kind and generous we are. And the Detroit Metro Times, noticeably not printing anything from the opposing side. They don't give them a voice. They just simply say, although they do kindly enough say, the MCMA has come under fire for supporting legislation that would license and regulate medical marijuana caregivers. Some opponents are calling for a boycott of MCMA's members, which, by the way, I couldn't find their list of members. They don't post it on their website. Saying the legislation is intended to monopolize the industry, which it is. So they managed to, at least in the headline and the bottom, without actually getting a quote from the opposition, at least explaining what's really going on. Why in the world this rose to the level of being a news story in the Metro Times is pretty embarrassing. The Metro Times has just illustrated that they're just a mouthpiece for the propaganda of the large marijuana industry. And again, not the independent caregivers, not the little people, for the large corporations that, now that marijuana is legal in Michigan, want to invade, take over, and dominate the industry and push everybody else back into the shadows. So that's what's going on. But at the end of the day, what all this really means is that they are desperate, they are scared, they are really nervous, they're ramping up the PR campaign. We have to ramp up ours as well. So spread the word. Sign up at the Michigan Caregivers Association's website, micaregivers.com. If you haven't already signed the petition of the legislature, sign it. If you have signed it, follow up with a phone call. Call your lawmakers and spread the word. Post on social media, micaregivers.com. We've got a Facebook page. We've got a Twitter feed. Spread the word. Get the word out. Get people talking about this and get people contacting their lawmakers. That's how we were able to stop the momentum up to this point, and that's how we can kill the bill. Find it finally, is to keep up the pressure and double down. So that's where we are right now. Hope you guys found this informative. Be sure you subscribe to our channel. And again, be sure you sign up at micaregivers.com and contact your lawmakers. Thanks again for everything. Till next time. Peace.